back, Canadian Bowler Podcast. For me, it's been a while. For you guys, not so long, but we're here with a frozen camera. Let's just call this one the Canadian Bowler with our first ever sponsor of the other show, Technical Difficulties, because that's exactly what we've been dealing with this morning. For those of you who don't know, which is probably a lot of you, I'm out here visiting Michael. As we know, Michael's router is a microwave, and sometimes it doesn't work very well. So yeah, here we are. Darryl, how's it going?
It's going well. This is going to be an interesting one. Two people in one location is obviously a little troublesome, but away we go. Hopefully it'll be a good show still.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, you guys, I guess before we get started, I don't know what the numbers are today. Darryl, you'll have to look this up for me. But remember, guys, like, subscribe. We crushed our goal of 1,000 subscribers a while ago. I think we're at like 1,300 and some odd as we sit today. So we appreciate that massively. But if you haven't already, remember to hit that subscribe button down below. Like, follow, share with all your friends. It really does help the channel grow, and we appreciate it massively. Don't forget, we're also available on Facebook. All of our podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you can find a podcast. It's perfect if you're not able to stick around today or you miss part of the show. It's always there for you for your downloading pleasure, and we appreciate that as well. So I guess let's just jump right into this, boys. How's it going? It's been a while.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's good. We kind of skipped a couple weeks just because of stuff going on, life, kids, for the two of us, and Luke traveling out. But we're glad to be back, and looking forward to kind of this off season of what do we talk about.
Yeah. It's been a fun couple of weeks where you're trying to get everything, I guess, set up for your winter or get the Christmas season underway, because I guess we're almost approaching that part of it. So I had to do the Christmas shopping and everything, and I had this guy to show up at my doorstep as well. So that was fun.
Yeah, I guess it's a little different for me, not having a child, but all the other fun things of the Christmas season and ending my job for the year was interesting, and being at home, being bored is tougher than it sounds. I don't know how our retired lawn bowlers manage, because I hate it. But yeah, I think everything for the show is going pretty well here, guys. I mean, obviously we're in the winter lull of what, if you will. So we are probably going to have to struggle a wee bit to find some talking points here coming up in the next couple of weeks, next month or so, I guess. Darryl, do we have anything exciting happening that might be able to fill in that time?
Well, we're happy to announce that we've actually been reaching out to bowls associations. We're kind of taking that shot of reaching out to various places all around the world, bowls countries, and their national associations, to try to line up interviews with some of their biggest and best, whether it's in coaching or players. We've actually got 4 interviews being lined up for this month and January. We're kind of excluding the holidays, give everybody a break. And we hope that more countries will get in touch with us, and we'll get some more interviews lined up. We're leading up to basically like the Commonwealth Games. We want to kind of pump up the nations that are involved in the Commonwealth Games, why you should watch the Commonwealth Games, the athletes and the coaches that are possibly going to be involved, or at least attempting to be part of the teams that are going. So hopefully it's going to be really exciting. Hopefully you get to see some of the best bowlers in the world on our show, talking about their journeys and what bowls means to them. So that's something that I think is really exciting coming up.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Darryl. And I mean, I guess over the last year or so, our show's kind of gone through some changes, obviously, with adding Michael and having the 3 of us on the show. And we've definitely had less interviews than we have from the start. I know we never wanted to just be a straight interview thing, but I think it's really going to be really good to bring it back, and in a more interesting way than we ever have before. I don't want to speak for everyone on here, but I believe we're really excited about it, and I think it's really going to help us carry through the winter months here.
Yeah, I'm quite excited for the interviews we're going to have. Something we talked about in the background for quite a while here, to get the different countries that are going to be involved in the Commonwealth Games next summer, because that is a pretty big deal in the bowls world. So as Daryl's sort of stating, to get either the coaches or some of the players that potentially are going to be involved, we wanted to sort of give a bit of a profile or highlight whichever associations are really willing to get us some of their players involved or able to be interviewed. We're definitely willing to do that, and that's something we want to try and do, because we got roughly 7 or 8 months until Commonwealth Games, I guess. So if we can probably cram in a few interviews and do some different profiles, it's kind of something we're going to pivot towards, and hopefully get some new content out there that you all can enjoy.
And we heard from comments, and everybody, we read the comments, we reply to emails, we try to stay interactive with you guys. We appreciate all the feedback. We've heard that lately we've been very Canada and North America centric, talking about a lot of stuff that's Canada. I mean, we are the Canadian Bowler, but we want to be global. And with that suggestion, we decided, you know what, let's take our growth. We've had a lot of growth, and see if we can snag some interviews of big names from all around the world. And it looks like it's working. Hopefully it continues to work and we get some more interviews. But we want to be that global presence. We want people from every country to tune in and get information and have discussions that are meaningful to the bowls community, not just Canada.
Well said.
Shout out to Greg Wilson in the chat.
What's going on, Greg?
So I guess if we want to just sort of jump into some of those topics we have. First one is probably my favorite topic of the day. Another Ontario Championship was announced. So I'll highlight that another. It looks like the mixed pairs and the para championships are going to be in Windsor, Ontario, this upcoming summer here. So another Ontario Championship. I know there was lots of problems figuring out what exactly is going on with all the hosting of clubs, everything like that, but it is what it is, and they were able to get a host, and it happened to be in Ontario again, so that's problematic as my image keeps changing sizes. More technical problems again, of course, with the router here, but yeah, I wasn't the most jazzed up when I saw another Ontario host, just because there are other provinces in Canada, obviously. So that's unfortunate that it keeps getting selected to go to Ontario. It'd be nice to know why potentially other provinces weren't selected, because I know there was dialogue specifically with clubs in Saskatchewan about us hosting, or essentially taking on a hosting of some events if they didn't go to the normal hosting formula that they use. And it didn't kind of come back to Saskatchewan or have any sort of dialogues with clubs. So a little interesting, but I do understand what's happening there. What's your guys' opinions on the announcement there?
I think for us, we can very easily be biased and say it's wonderful. But I guess that brings you back to the same topic that we've talked so many times before about the cost of the sport and why some people have an easier time than others. And I mean, for us Ontarians, luckily we've been able to have them here, but at the same time, it just kind of is unfortunate because it's not an Ontario championship, it's a Canadian championship, and I personally think it should be rotating. If anyone out there from Bowls Canada is listening, I would love to hear why everything is here, or at home, I guess. But it's to me, it's quite strange. Like, unless they're gonna start some sort of rotation where each province gets every single Canadian championship. Like, wow, Mike, you're really small now.
Just ignore me. I'm here.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Unless they're going to have every club Oh boy, I'm done. This is bad. Sorry. Okay, sorry. So I'll continue this thought. So unless they're going to have every Canadian championship across the season in one province, to me it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense why everything is in Ontario. But again, I don't see that being a very popular opinion, because I don't think a lot of provinces would be able to host all of them. As we've seen over the years past, there's been some of the smaller provinces that have struggled enough to host one, if not two, of the events. So I think trying to host them all would be really tough. So yeah, I don't know if what's going on there.
You're good.
Yeah, like I guess Milton Bowling Club going off in the chat there for we're gonna know that's Dave. What my response to what Dave's saying there, Regina, Saskatchewan, like Lawn Bowling Club, we were approached to host the Junior Canadians, and it would have been this upcoming year. And our club had started kind of preliminary planning. We'd thought about hosting the event, started sort of putting things in place. And then suddenly there's this huge pivot where we weren't getting it. And essentially with no notice, that's when they started to announce that all these other clubs were getting the events. So we were under the impression we were going to be getting juniors, and then suddenly we're not. And then so it's the lack of communication and I guess the clarity on what's actually happening, because they haven't even came out and said, oh, you guys will get it next year, or you have an opportunity at the year after. So there was no clarity from Bowls Canada's behalf. So that's kind of what I'm asking about here on this question is, with these different changes that they're making, sort of selecting clubs from all these different areas, I don't know if they really had the most clear process for it, because there are probably some clubs that have been approached about stepping in if they needed them, and then they're like, okay, we're going to be stepping in, probably taking on something, and then now that it's all kind of been arranged, or after the fact, it's like, oh, we're actually not, and we're not doing anything that we know of in the future. So just obviously not an easy way of how it's gone over the last little while here.
Yeah, so
the only like go ahead, Daryl.
I was just going to say, obviously we're not going to have any answers for on this, but really the question is, what was the process like? I guess just a little clarity and transparency on, were there other provinces that looked at? We don't need to know the clubs. We don't need to know why they were rejected or why some were picked over others. But were other provinces interested? Were there more than one club that stepped up to say, hey, I'll take it? And why did it all end up in Ontario? Was it just that these clubs were superior to the other ones that wanted to take on the event, or was there just nobody else that wanted to take it?
Yeah, kind of like based off what you're saying, Dara, like I just kind of struggle. Like, again, I don't know if anyone has ever outright said it, but I just struggle to believe that no other clubs across the country were willing to host anything, or to step up to do that. I know, obviously, we live in a strange time, but I know the folks out in Halifax are always pretty willing to do stuff. So, I mean, they couldn't host maybe some bigger ones, but maybe some of the smaller ones, I think. I don't know. I don't want to speak for anyone, but I just have a hard time believing that zero other clubs were willing to do anything.
Yeah, I guess just some clarity on that would be fantastic. Just to know what happened and why it's all in Ontario. It does look a little weird that every announcement is like Windsor, Burlington, Port Credit, James Gardens, all in Ontario. I mean, obviously, like Luke said, the people in Ontario aren't complaining, but it'd just be nice to know what went on and why it's all in Ontario.
Yeah, and nonetheless, it's great that obviously those clubs have stepped up to host. True. It's more of just a curiosity question than anything, I think, is what we could say.
Yeah, exactly. Quickly before we move on to another in-depth subject, you might have noticed that we're wearing some interesting clothing with our logo on it. We have been testing out.
I'm trying to show mine, but it's not working.
We have been testing out merchandise places that can provide us with some shirts, some other things that people can buy to support the show, like mugs. Hopefully, we'll have some of that stuff coming up once we've tested it and make sure that everything is okay. This shirt that I got is not the greatest. Mike's is a lot better that he's wearing right there. So. We're going to come up with some cool stuff, not just logos, but Bulls themed merchandise, funny stuff, cool stuff, things that you might want to pick up just to support the show and help us upgrade our equipment like Mike's router. So be on the lookout for that, but we're wearing some of the test merchandise now, and hopefully we'll have some of that coming out soon.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it'll be ready for this holiday season. I know how much of a commodity it would be just blowing off the shelves all across the world, but probably, hopefully, sometime next year we'll be able to have something available.
Yeah, Project Mike, get Mike a fiber optic router is something that we're going to try and work on for next year. Luke could hear and attest all week that they've been drilling the fiber optic lines. Finally, in my area, we're the last place in my entire city to get fiber optic, so hopefully next year we'll have a router that I'm not going to be running on terrible bandwidth for you there, Daryl.
Awesome. Want to move on to Bulls England?
Yeah, sure.
So some really neat stuff is coming out of Bulls England that we wanted to talk about. We thought it was pretty timely for coming out of the pandemic and for clubs. They came out with a sort of a 5-point framework for trying to increase participation in the sport and help clubs out at the same time. They called it Fit for the Future. So the 5 points that they had were building the brand of Bulls. So by increasing the focus on international and top domestic Bulls and utilizing the opportunities such as Birmingham 2020, which are 2022, which is a big one for them. They want to try to achieve larger media coverage, commercials, and try to increase that media presence that they have in their country, which I mean probably is bigger than we have here, but it's something that I think every nation wants, is just more TV time to capture that audience. Next point is ensuring the sport is truly accessible to all by offering different formats of the game which suit all time constraints, as well as driving more people to the clubs in new ways. So not just the traditional format, which we've talked about many times, having different things for people who work and can't stay out late, for people with kids and families that their time is really short, that they can go out and do stuff. Having those just quick, cool things that you can go out and do, which is not a traditional 2-hour long game. Doing weekly leagues, that kind of stuff, where you go out once a week rather than being a member and having a whole bunch of responsibilities. So definitely making it accessible to everybody from every walk of life. The next one is creating positive playing experiences for everyone who steps on the green, both for casual and competitive players, as well as growing their events calendar and introducing the performance pathway. So trying to make everything positive. We've talked about that in the past, and Bulls Canada came out with their Belonging in Bulls, which is kind of similar. It's try to make the bowl experience positive and fun for everybody. People, if it's not fun, people don't want to come back. The hardcores are here to stay. The three of us are pretty hardcore into the sport, obviously, and the ups and downs, the good and the bad, we've gone through it all, and we stay here. But it's the casual people, the people that haven't seen the sport yet, the people we're trying to capture to come and just play once a week or be part of the club and not be competitive. Those are the people that we want. Putting volunteers first as the lifeblood of our sport by increasing our support for clubs in order to empower them to thrive. I mean, I think that's a given. Volunteers give a lot of time and a lot of effort to this sport, and they definitely need to be recognized and supported. and leading the sport with purpose by developing our governance structures, diversifying our revenue streams, and working collaboratively with the sport's key stakeholders. So really neat stuff. One thing that really came out of this, they put out a call for applications to build an app or a website for clubs. So basically, what it would do is it would allow clubs to post free times on their greens. So we're open now, we have greens available. Put a cost possibly for renting rather than like a membership. So come out and you can have this green for X amount of dollars, play for an hour, kind of like we would see with 10 pin or 5 pin bowling, I guess. Lanes are open, come and play, pay your fee, and go. And it's a good way to advertise the clubs, to say, hey, we're open right now. We have our greens open. You can come and play anytime you want, and just get that money in the door. They're not getting membership necessarily, but they're exposing people to the sport. They're getting a little cash in the door. And if it's on an app or on a website, anybody can go on, check it out, and if they're interested, pay their fee, go and play. Rather than having to go down to the club and just be hopeful that someone's there, that a green's open, that someone's willing to show them the ropes. They can actually use this app to advertise. I think it's some really, really neat stuff, and I'm kind of excited to see what comes out of Bowls England.
I think there's a lot of really, really good ideas there, for sure. I guess it's sort of on or off topic. I guess Michael and I actually had this discussion the other day, but with all the things coming out with marketing the sport and trying to grow the sport, stuff that's been talked about for years, who do we believe that the sport should actually be marketing the game to? What group of people should we be marketing the game to? Because my argument in a lot of things that, am I fucking up really bad?
It's okay. Who should we be marketing the game to? Right?
I just don't know what's happening. I'm sorry. So over the last my life in bowls, everything's been marketed towards the younger group of people, and our retention of new bowlers is so low. Right. Should we be marketing the sport to the older athlete as opposed to the younger athlete, and look at it from a different perspective?
Yeah, that's one of the things I gathered from that package there. So that whole package, if you read it, there's the two things that I really gathered from it were, one is that app that Daryl's talking about, what they're trying to make essentially a universal app that can be used by all the different clubs, which I feel that's one of the major things that's lacking and can be developed by bowls even in Canada, anywhere, is to sort of get that accessibility and make it clear that we have bowling on these days and you can come and play, or you can join these leagues on these days, things like that. And then the other thing was them taking advantage of hosting the Commonwealth Games, because really there's going to probably be bowls on TV or something of that nature. So if they get the exposure, obviously they want to, sort of jump on it. And sort of as you're saying there, Luke, I do agree. Who do they sort of market the game to? Because if we're kind of looking at the people that stay around in bowls, for me, the majority of the time, sort of the elderly population has been the majority of the members of most clubs. Something I know clubs have been kind of trying to fight against or move in a different direction over probably the last 10 or 15 years. And I think a lot of clubs are still continuing to kind of work on that. But I would agree with what you're saying is the marketing of the sport. It is a sport that's a good sport that kind of lends to the retirement age crowd. It's pretty low impact. It's a sport that a lot of people who are, if you've had some sort of sports injuries, things like that, it's a pretty easy sport for you to be able to pick up and play, where you're not going to have to worry about major sports injuries. So yeah, I do see what you're saying. And it's a conversation we did have where I personally feel like it needs to be more marketed towards that elderly direction, because I think there's been a little bit of I guess, a gap left in the recruitment of that type of age, and not as much partnerships with maybe seniors organizations, things like that, to try and kind of keep the large impact that we have from those members, along with also targeting the younger people.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, I mean, the elderly population is the one that, you know, basically pays for our sport. You know, the bulk of people are of that advanced age where they're retired, possibly, or near retirement, or even further past that, and they're out there playing the game. I would really like to see it really center around, or at least have some stuff around families. You know, grandparents, parents, kids, grandkids, people coming out playing together, multi-generational stuff, really show that kind of family togetherness, the community that supports them, something along those lines. Because I think if we get those families that have kids, you're gonna get everybody coming together, everybody playing together, multiple memberships from that family. And as we've seen, when a family gets in there, and you have that support system, everybody sticks with it. I mean, all of us are in here because of our families, for sure. And I think that it really speaks volumes when you see how many family dynasties are out there, you know, multi-generations of people playing, whether they played competitively or not. But you know the Patulis. I know a bunch of Caldwells that played, and there's a few Fitzgeralds that played as well. So that family aspect, I think, is a really big one that they can play up, and you know, get that whole group of people, one giant family coming out, might be a benefit too.
I was waiting to see if Luke had anything to offer there, just because of the lag we had last time. So,
no, I'm all right.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying there, Daryl. It's definitely targeting the families is another thing I think with a lot of organizations could potentially work with too, because I don't know if there's many sports that you can go and play with your grandpa, as you're sort of saying, and then competitively play it together realistically. Like, there's almost no sport I can literally think of on the top of my head right now where you could go into like a competitive tournament and play as pretty much as high level as you possibly could with your grandpa and even your father. It's a bit of a stretch to play a lot of the sports too. So definitely an aspect of the sport, I think, that could be definitely marketed in a different direction, because it is something that could attract some people, because it's great to have that family aspect. And I love being able to say that every summer I can go out and play some bowls and games, or organize different games with my dad, my mom, and just kind of enjoy the time that we have out there in the summer.
Yeah, and I have some great memories playing with a lot of people, but some of my best memories are playing with my dad. And I think we can all say that with members of our family. There's some great memories of playing with them, whether they still play or they don't. My dad doesn't right now. He's getting older and his knees are giving him a hard time. But I think his memories too are just playing with me and getting in those tournaments. We weren't necessarily the most competitive all the time, but we had a ton of fun. And I think we can build a lot more of those kind of memories on the green with other families. The other thing is, like we say, like the hardcores are the hardcores. A lot of the people in this chat are hardcore players that will play the game for as long as they can and will never leave. It's those casual fans, and it's like any other sport. You know, you see the World Cup. Hardcore soccer fans love soccer or football if you're in the outside of North America, but they'll follow their team. They'll play. They'll watch. But when the World Cup comes around, you get a ton of casual fans coming in where they just want to support the country. They just want to see the sport. They don't really care about soccer for the whole year. They just want some big spectacles to see things going on. And it's those kind of people that we want. We want people that have never seen the sport, people that are curious and just want to check it out, and come and play socially. those are the people that we really want.
Yep, well put. The casual grassroots people are definitely something we're always after. Wanting anyone who's willing to really give it a watch, give it a try. That's the main thing at this point.
Cool.
So I guess we had another topic if we want to move on, and that one, I guess, is involving you again, Daryl. There was a nice little blog post, Bulls Canada's blog post about you and Owen's story. So kind of highlighting that relationship you two have went from being essentially, I guess, playing at the same club to you coaching him, and then all the success that Owen Kirby's had there in the last 5-6 years. So yeah. It was a very nice post. I enjoyed reading it because I didn't realize you guys met each other essentially at a tournament when he would have been half your size and just a little tiny kid, and then now we're looking at a guy who's taller than I think me and you, and we're both pretty tall guys. So it was pretty interesting to see the transformation that's occurred there.
Yeah, he's almost the same height as me, and yeah, the picture that they had on there from 2012, I think it was, yeah, he's half my height. I don't even remember that. It seems like a lifetime ago, but really nice blog that they put together, a nice article. If you want to check it out, it's at biasedbulls.ca. I think it just really speaks to the fact that my experience in coaching has been just phenomenal. I went kind of from 0 to 100 and jumped in with both feet. Not sure where it would take me or what would happen, and getting to work with some young, keen bowlers like Owen. I went with Luke to Australia. That's how we became really good friends when he was competing as the part of the Canadian team at Broadbeach. Just being able to work with athletes like that has been absolutely fantastic. And the story of Owen, I mean, he's light years ahead of where I was at his age in this sport. He's won the under 18, won the under 25, and who knows where he's going to go from here. It's been 2 years off, but hopefully he comes back and still wants to reach the Canadians like we all do. But yeah, go check out that article. Some really cool stuff. If you're interested in how to be a coach, reach out to Bulls Canada or reach out to us. I'm more than happy to help people figure out how to become a coach and find all those resources as well. I think it's really important.
Yeah, no, me or you, I know we've gone down the coaching path, and we definitely would have any sort of instructions or information anyone need to move into that coaching aspect, because it is a pretty rewarding thing, and you build some good relationships with the people you coach, and it's honestly enjoyable to see a person develop and sort of thrive with a little bit of assistance or help that you can give them to sort of move them along. So if anyone's ever wanting to sort of consider making that pivot, that article would be a good read, because it definitely does highlight both aspects of both being that high performance player and trying to be a coach or learning to be that coach.
So.
As I say, was that about all we really had to talk about here today? Is there anything else either you guys wanted to bring up here?
No, I didn't have much else. I think we were all be. I'll let you do this one, Daryl.
All right, so we've had a little technical difficulties. Obviously, we love that kind of stuff in our show, but we want to thank everybody for watching. Everybody that's in chat, we love the interaction, and if you haven't already, make sure you like, follow, subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and obviously on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell for notifications on when we go live or when we have new videos. We're trying to come out with interesting games or videos every week if we can. Where our sub count is going up. We really appreciate all the support. Check us out on every audio platform that you can. Our audio podcast usually goes out a couple days after the live show. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, we're on there. We try to spread it out as far as we can. We will be coming out with some new video content. Be prepared for some awesome interviews with international legendary players and coaches. Be prepared for some more videos in the technical difficulties section. We're working on those right now, and hopefully we'll come out with a couple things, not necessarily on the green because it's leaves and snow outside my house right now, but some instructional videos and some good Q&A stuff that I'm working on, and we'll have that out hopefully in the next couple weeks as well. So for everybody here, Luke, who's probably not going to talk, and for Michael Batuli and myself, I want to say thank you, and may all your bowls be touchers.